4 years before Jamaal Williams led the league in rushing touchdowns and finished as a top 12 running back as a last round draft target, he won managers a fantasy championship as the 43rd overall running back in half PPR. How did that happen? It's time for a fantasy football rewind. Jamaal Williams was drafted in the 2017 NFL Draft in the fourth round by the Green Bay Packers as the 134th overall player, 48 picks before fellow Green Bay rookie running back Aaron Jones was drafted. Heading into the 2017 season, Ty Montgomery was looking to be the lead back after converting from a wide receiver the previous year due to injuries decimating the Green Bay backfield. Ty Montgomery would be the feature back for the first 3 weeks, while Jamaal Williams only picked up a few carries in each game. In Green Bay's Week 4 matchup against the Chicago Bears, Ty Montgomery would suffer a broken rib, taking him out of the game. This happened in the first quarter, and after the injury, Aaron Jones outtouched Jamaal Williams 12-4. Week 5, Aaron Jones made the most of his start, rushing for 125 yards and a touchdown, while Jamaal Williams only played 2 snaps the whole game. This continued through Week 9 with either Montgomery or Jones getting the start and the bulk of the work, while Williams would see none or minimal offensive snaps. In Week 10, Aaron Jones went down with a knee injury, and afterwards, Ty Montgomery came in to replace him. Montgomery would end up re-injuring his ribs, and Jamaal Williams took advantage of this opportunity, coming in and carrying the ball 20 times for 67 yards and catching a pass for 7 yards. With Aaron Jones missing some time and Ty Montgomery missing the rest of the year, Williams got the starting role and held on to it for the rest of the year. From weeks 11 through 17, Williams carried the ball 122 times for 455 yards and 3 touchdowns, and added 20 receptions for 217 yards and 2 touchdowns. Through the whole 2017 season, Williams touched the ball 178 times and never fumbled the ball once. Being a young running back and having that amount of ball security, adding to his late season stretch and Aaron Jones' injury concerns, Jamaal Williams was labeled as a top sleeper for many people in the 2018 fantasy football draft. About a month before draft season, Aaron Jones was suspended the first 2 games of the 2018 season for violating the NFL's substance abuse policy. This pushed Williams' stock up, and in the 2018 draft, Jamaal Williams was taken at the end of the 7th round of 10-team leagues, while Aaron Jones was taken in the middle of the 12th round. Jamaal Williams started the 2018 season as the lead back, and the 2 weeks Jones was out, he didn't really do much. Williams was RB 37 in half PPR in 2 games, and was looking extremely inefficient. With Aaron Jones coming back from suspension next week, Jamaal Williams was beginning to lose some fantasy value. Week 3 and Jamaal Williams continued his lead back role, but could only muster 5 rushes and 1 catch with 45 all-purpose yards on a pretty statistically absent day. Aaron Jones didn't do much better, and Williams nearly doubled Jones' offensive snaps, keeping Williams as a borderline flex player moving forward. Week 4 continued Jamaal Williams' struggles with 11 rushes for 27 yards and no receptions. Aaron Jones saw 1 more offensive snap than Williams and was able to turn his 11 rushes into 65 yards and a touchdown. Williams was starting to fall to the point of no return for fantasy, and if you were in a shallow league, he was for sure getting dropped this week. In larger leagues, he still had some value because of injury concerns for Aaron Jones, but that was what little value he had. Week 5 would be Jamaal Williams' last starting week until the end of the season, rushing 6 times for 33 yards and adding 2 catches for 19 yards. After being touted as the Packers' bell cow back in the beginning of the season, Williams' role had been slashed and a bulk of his touches had been given to Aaron Jones. Williams was still being favored at the goal line, so there was some hope for his fantasy value moving forward, but Williams was nothing more than an injury stash if you had the bench space. From weeks 6 through 9, Williams continued with mediocre stats of 4 to 7 rushes a game, but ran in his first touchdown of the season on week 8. Jones outrushed Williams every week, and even in deeper leagues, Williams was being dropped for other prospects. Weeks 10 through 12, Jamaal Williams verified managers who had already dropped him to the waiver wire. He never saw more than 3 rushes in a game and caught 0 passes. He saw 25% or fewer of Green Bay's offensive snaps in each of these games and was pretty much relegated to special teams duty. Williams was on the field for 19, 19, and 32% of the team's special team snaps from weeks 10 through 12, respectively, which was his highest percentages of the year. Week 13 saw a cold, snowy matchup against the Cardinals that put Jamaal Williams into a bigger role, playing 50% of Green Bay's offensive snaps. But Williams couldn't convert his 7 carries or 4 catches into anything more than 27 all-purpose yards. By this point in the season, the only rosters Williams was on was either dynasty leagues or managers who had already abandoned their teams. After this Packers loss to the Cardinals, the team fired their head coach Mike McCarthy after 13 seasons as the head coach. Packers offensive coordinator Joe Philbin took over head coaching duties for the remainder of the season. And shocking everyone, Philbin gave Jamaal Williams the start at running back in their Week 14 matchup against the Atlanta Falcons. Even with this start, Williams only managed 4 carries for 17 yards and ended up playing his second most special team snaps of the season. Week 15 is where Jamaal Williams' first championship winning performance kicks off. Aaron Jones was back to being the starter for this game, but in the first half, after only 4 carries on 7 snaps, Jones left the game with a right knee injury. Right after Jones went to the sideline, Williams saw the ball come his way on the next 3 snaps, taking a dump-off pass for 13 yards, then a screen for 21 yards, and then a 1-yard rush. Williams would finish this game with 55 yards rushing, 42 yards receiving, and a touchdown. He saw his highest rushing attempt since week 2, highest targets and receptions of the season, and the highest snap percentage of the season. 2 days after their Week 15 matchup, Aaron Jones was placed on injured reserve, ending his season with only 2 games left. This shot Jamaal Williams into must-pick-up territory. Whether you were playing for a championship or just trying not to lose your league's last-place game, Williams was being projected as a running back 2 and was being added to any roster with an important matchup. In this championship week, Jamaal Williams would put up his best game of the season, rushing for 95 yards and a touchdown and catching 6 passes for 61 yards, all of which were season highs. Williams was the number 1 overall scoring running back in half PPR, rewarding those managers who picked him up. Going from a 7th round pick to a bust sitting on the waiver wire for weeks to putting up his best game of the season and number 1 running back for a championship game. Before his NFL leading 17 rushing touchdowns this past year, this was Jamaal Williams' fantasy football career high point for the first 5 years of his career and came in the biggest game of the season, making it one of the most overlooked fantasy championship game performances of all time.